So the international break is now over, which means we can turn our attention back to the league. And coming up this weekend, we've got some big fixtures. I'm just glad to have Championship football back, if I'm being honest. But as always, all this weekend's games will be in the description down below, so that you guys can easily go ahead and make your score predictions. Then if you do successfully manage to get any of them correct, your comment will be included at the start of the next video. I feel like getting towards the end of the season, this is where the game starts to get a little bit more cagey, a little bit more intense, and this is where they get harder to predict as well. So if you do manage to get any of them correct this weekend, then fair play. So if you do go on to enjoy the video, make sure you leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. But without further ado, let's hop into my score predictions. So we'll start things out with tonight's game going on between West Brom and Birmingham. Both teams find themselves in an interesting part of the table at the moment. West Brom in 4th. Before the international break, I was sort of under the impression that West Brom would do everything to get a permanent manager in by this stage of the season and then look to kick on for the rest of it. That's not been the case, and it's probably looking more than likely that they'll have sort of an interim manager for the remainder of this season now, which is a little bit of a risky strategy for a side going for promotion. But even so, if they continue getting the results, then who am I to say what's right and what's wrong? Going up against the Birmingham side, who have just had a points deduction of 9 points. They're down in 18th in the Championship now, 5 points above the relegation zone. Honestly, I really can't see Birmingham being relegated, although with the run of form they're currently on, they've lost 4 games in a row. Their next 3 are against West Brom, Leeds United and Sheffield United. If they lose all 3 of those games, then things might start to get a little bit more tense around the club. But for this one, I am probably just going to fancy West Brom for this one. Birmingham in their last encounter in the Championship lost 1-0 against Preston in the last minute. For that game, it wasn't a brilliant performance from Birmingham, but equally to that, they probably didn't deserve to lose that game either. If their forwards can get back on form, then they can cause any side in the league a problem. Really, it's just James hasn't quite been firing on all cylinders in his past few games. For this one, I'm going to back West Brom for a 2-1 home victory with FIFA saying it'll be a 1-1 draw. And then moving on into Saturday's games, we've got Aston Villa going up against Blackburn Rovers. A lot of people will be fancying the home side for this one, and I'm probably going to be edging that way myself. With the form that Villa are on at the moment and the way that Blackburn have been defending in recent weeks, I've not really got all too much confidence in them going to Villa Park and getting a result from this one. Blackburn currently find themselves 10 points away from the playoffs and 11 points away from relegation, so they've sort of just been meandering towards the end of the season now. A couple people maybe already on the beach for Rovers, but going up against Aston Villa, who can't be affording to let their foot off the gas. They are in the top 6 at the moment, but with how many teams are on their tails, it's going to be a really close run-in for the end of the season. Blackburn have struggled with crosses coming into the box lately, and a striker like Tammy Abraham could absolutely thrive off that, going up against a defence who has looked quite fragile lately. Twan Zabi is a player who I believe is back in contention for starting for this game, which will be a big boost for Villa for the rest of the season. Before he got injured, I was very impressed by him. So for this one, I'm going to fancy Villa for a 3-1 home victory, with FIFA saying it'll be 2-0 Villa. And then we see Derby going up against Rotherham. Derby only find themselves 1 point behind the top 6 at the moment, and they do have a game in hand on some of the sides above them. Not many people have been fancying Derby for the top 6, but I've got to say their running from now until the end of the season is looking very favourable. After this potentially quite tricky game against Rotherham, they've got 6 or so very winnable games by Derby standards, and I know before the international break their form wasn't the best, but every side near the top of the Championship has had sort of that rough patch of form at some point in this season, and I genuinely do think that Derby could string together a decent run of form between now and the end of the season. To add to that, they've got Mason Mount coming back into the squad, and if you look at Derby's win ratio with Mason Mount and without it, he's absolutely crucial to this Frank Lampard system. Add to that, they've also got Tom Lawrence coming back into the equation as well. If Harry Wilson can get back on form, then I genuinely do see Derby being up there come the end of the season. They're going up against a Rotherham side who have been looking fairly consistent lately. They've only lost 1 of their last 5 away matches in the Championship. Will Vokes will still be suspended for this one. This will be his final game that he has been suspended for after getting sent off against Sheffield United. I don't think that any side near the bottom of the Championship has a particularly easy run-in, and Rotherham, to say the least, you know, their next 5 games are looking very tough indeed. So if they can get anything from this sort of game, it'll be a bonus for them come the end of the season. I've got a feeling though that Derby will turn around their fortunes for the rest of this season, and for this one, I'll just back them for a 2-1 home victory, with FIFA saying it'll be 2-0 Derby. Next up, we've got Ipswich going up against Hull, 2 sides who don't really have anything to play for the rest of the season. Ipswich's survival chances and Hull's chances of reaching the top 6 are both looking quite slim at the moment. Hull 6 points off the top 6, not impossible to make up, but I can't see them really going and edging in there. Ipswich, 6 of their last 7 games have now finished as a 1-1 draw, so I would be foolish to back against that happening in this game as well. The football they've been playing lately has been a lot better. They've been creating a lot more chances per 90 minutes. The possession's been a lot cleaner. They put together some nice passing combinations, and they've got a variety of goal scorers who've been on the score sheet in the past few weeks. Hull have showed they can score goals. Jared Bowen has got 5 in his last 5 now. However, away from home, they tend to be a little bit inconsistent defensively. In their last 3 away matches, they've conceded 11 goals now, so that's an area where Ipswich will look to exploit for this one. You know, Ipswich, like I said, they've got nothing to fear for the rest of this season now. They can just go out and play their football, and they've actually been putting in some decent performances lately. I don't think there's going to be too much separating these two sides in this one, with Hull being a little bit dodgy on the road so far. I'll say this one will finish as another 1-1 draw, with FIFA saying it'll be 2-0 Hull. And then we have Leeds going up against Millwall. Now, Millwall are going to want to do Leeds no favours in their promotion push this season, and they themselves are fighting a relegation battle, so it's a big game this one, and I feel like it could be a good atmosphere at Ellen Road going around. The interesting news about Leeds coming into this game is, of course, Kiko Casilla will be suspended and Bailey Peacock-Farrell will come back in between the sticks, but Pontus Jansson and Adam Forshaw are both back for selection for this game, which will be a big booster for Leeds. I think that Leeds will want to put a statement down for this game. After they lost against QPR, they came back really at full force against West Brom, beat them 4-0, and I feel like this game could perhaps go down a similar path. Bielsa's not going to be having any excuses for this game whatsoever, and despite Millwall getting back to winning ways in their last game in the league, they beat Birmingham 2-0 away from home. I can't really see a similar occurrence in this one. Leeds need to keep the pressure on Sheffield United, and I think they will do that in this one with a fairly convincing 3-0 home victory, with FIFA saying it'll be 1-0 Millwall, and that would be a massive upset, but I'm going to back Leeds for a 3-0. I'm interested to know what you guys are thinking for that one. And then we've got Nottingham Forest going up against Swansea City. Forest still have a chance at the top 6. They're only 3 points away at the moment. I don't think that many people are particularly fancying them because the way they were playing before the international break, the game they had before was a 1-1 draw against Ipswich Town. Quite an anticlimactic game for Forest, actually. A game where they would have been targeting all 3 points. Martin O'Neill, I feel like the jury's still out for him amongst Forest fans. I feel like there's a little bit of a split there as to what they make of him at the moment. But for this game, I believe that Graben could be coming back into the side. He's been back training now, and really Forest have played their best football this season when it's been Graben up front and João Carvalho in behind him. How Carvalho has not been starting week in, week out, I can't quite get my head around, but it goes back to that, you know, thing about Martin O'Neill, and perhaps some of these Forest players aren't quite suited to playing in that sort of system. They're going up against the Swansea side, who haven't particularly been performing very well on the road lately. They've lost their last 5 championship away matches, although in some of their latest games I don't actually think they played that bad despite losing. Against West Brom and Norwich, they weren't particularly bad performances from Swansea, just things weren't quite clicking for them in front of goal. Forest need to put a statement down in this game though, I feel like, and get back to winning ways after a pretty drab performance against Ipswich. So for this one, if Lewis Graben is back in the side now, probably just edge Forest for a 1-0 home victory, with FIFA saying it will be 1-0 Forest as well. And then we got QPR going up against Bolton. You'd be expecting QPR to be picking up all 3 points in this one, but in 2019 it's not really been there yet. Only 1 win in the league so far, although their last game against Hull was quite a heroic comeback. Tom Mohamed getting them back into that game, and it finished as a 2-2 draw, where at one point they were looking dead and buried. But going up against Bolton, you will be expecting them to be picking them off in this game. Bolton, I don't feel like the main focus at the club is actually on the football at the moment. I know they're in the relegation zone and everything like that, but they want to sort the situation out with Ken Anderson, and the story about the new ownership is constantly developing. When I'm recording this video, it is currently being reported that there could be a takeover within the next 48 hours, so more of that story has probably come out by the time that you guys are watching this. So if that takeover does go through and nothing falls through again, then there will be at least a positive slant for Bolton for the remainder of this season. But for this game, in terms of on the pitch, you've got to be fancying QPR for it. I think QPR will have enough creativity and clever plays in and around the box like Freeman and Eze to eventually open up this Bolton side, and so I will back the home side for a 2-0 victory, with FIFA saying it will be Bolton walking away with a 1-0 away victory. And then we got Reading going up against Preston. Two teams fighting very different battles at the moment, but a tough game to predict this one. Preston find themselves unbeaten in 12 games, and we have won our last 6 away matches now, so that is quite good reading going into this one. Our last game against Birmingham was a little bit of a smash and grab. We beat them in the last minute thanks to a Shawnee Maguire header, and despite not really playing that well in our last 3 matches, we picked up 9 points from those games. That trend's going to have to continue into this game. I'm hoping we will have some players returning into the starting 11. Paul Gallagher especially, I thought we badly missed him against Birmingham. Creativity from the middle, without Paul Gallagher we really seem to suffer in those areas. Hopefully Alan Brown is back as well. In that game against Birmingham, we had Callum Robinson coming off the bench, and with a couple more weeks back in training now, he'll be looking much sharper, I'm hoping. Reading though have looked like no mugs in the Championship lately. Despite their position in the table, they have put in some decent performances. Scoring goals hasn't been that much of an issue for them, and with Martinez players in net lately. He's been pulling off some masterclasses for Reading lately, keeping them in some games, and arguably, you know, if Reading do go on to stay up, he could be one of the best signings in that January window, coming on loan from Arsenal this season. I don't think that much will separate these two sides. I see it being quite an open game of football. Both teams will be looking to get on the ball. With how Preston have been doing away though, I'll back us for a 2-1 away victory, and I do feel like we need to pick up 3 points in this game, just for the fact that our next 3 games after that are against Leeds, Sheffield United and West Brom. So this one really does need to be 3 points to keep the pressure on the rest of the top 6. So I'll say 2-1 Preston. FIFA's going to say it'll be a 1-1 draw. And then we got Sheffield United going up against Bristol City. This one could be quite a tasty game as well. Sheffield United have 7 clean sheets in a row now, which is absolutely ridiculous. Dean Henderson has been fantastic, but that whole defensive unit from Sheffield United has been absolutely superb this season, and they're going up against a Bristol City side who aren't particularly in very good form at the moment. They're without a win in their last 5 matches now, and reading some of the comments on my prediction video I did earlier on this week, there were quite a few decent points raised about Bristol City. They do tend to be quite a momentum side in the Championship, and although they do have quite a tough run in between now and the end of the season, after this game against United, they've got Middlesbrough, West Brom and Aston Villa to play. If Bristol City can turn around their fortunes, they are the sort of side that can go, you know, 5 wins on the bounce. So that could play into their hands with them playing the teams around them. They also have 2 games in hand on some of the teams above them. So Bristol City aren't quite out of it yet, but going away to Bramall Lane is arguably the hardest away day in the Championship at the moment, with the way the Blades are going at the moment. Their last result, beating Leeds away from home, arguably their biggest result of the season so far. They're not going to want to throw that away, losing against Bristol City at home in this one. I don't feel like there'll be ultimately many goals scored in this game. I feel like the more you get towards the end of the season, the more tight and intense these types of games do get. But with their clean sheet record, I'm going to back that to extend to another week. I'll back the home side for a 1-0 victory, with FIFA saying it'll be a 1-1 draw. And then we have Stoke going up against Sheffield Wednesday. I just want a bit of excitement in some Stoke games now. Their last 3 matches have all finished as goalless draws. Whenever I've been talking about them on the Championship roundup, it's just a bit dull around the club at the moment. I feel like Nathan Jones is sort of slowly getting his ideas across to the team. Defensively, they have been looking quite tight. They've not been allowing too many chances to be created against them. But going forward, they just seem to be a little bit devoid of creativity in final product, and it's just a bit glum at the moment. They're going up against a Sheffield Wednesday side though, who haven't been struggling for goals. They put 4 past Blackburn in their last game, and considering after this for Wednesday they've got 6 games against sides in the top 10, Wednesday need to pick up all 3 points in this one, I feel like, if they are seriously going to want to push for the top 6 this season, considering the calibre of teams they're playing after this one against Stoke. With how a lot of Stoke games have gone so far this season though, I can't see all too much being in this one. I can see it going either sort of a 1-0 either way, or it will play out as another boring goalless draw. But with how Wednesday have been under Bruce lately, I will back them for a 1-0 away victory. And like I said, I just want a bit of excitement from Stoke at the moment. FIFA said it will be 1-0 Stoke. I don't see ultimately goals being scored in that one. And then we got Wigan going up against Brentford. Wigan's last encounter, beating Bolton by 5-2, really did prop them up with the Championship. They're 3 points away from the relegation zone at the moment. Although their running isn't looking too favourable, they're really going to have to take full advantage of the home games they have left between now and the end of the season. And going up against the Brentford side, I see this one being quite an open game of football. They tend to be when Brentford are in town. They create a lot of chances per 90 minutes, but defensively can leave the back door open at times. And with how clinical Wigan did look, albeit it was against a pretty shoddy Bolton side, Wigan have showed they can score goals in recent weeks. Having Nick Powell back in the equation is always going to be massive for them. I think he's shown his importance to this side since being back from injury, as well as that Joe Garner has been a player who I've been absolutely loving watching play lately. No defender wants to go up against him. He's an absolute nightmare to mark. And to add to that as well, he's also in good goal scoring form, scoring a lot of goals. Any crosses coming into the box, Joe Garner is going to be the first player to win that. Brentford have lost their last 2 matches in the league now, although thinking back to their last game against West Brom, it wasn't necessarily a bad performance from Brentford. They just couldn't seem to finish any of their chances. I fancy players like Maupay, Watkins and Ben Rama to cause this Wigan defence some problems, but all in all, I see this one heading towards a 2-2 draw actually. And then as our final game to predict this weekend, as the evening kick-off on Saturday, we see Borough going up against Norwich. Now there is a real possibility that Middlesbrough could slip out of the top 6 this weekend, with them losing their last 3 matches and with a lot of teams breathing down their necks at the moment, going up against top of the league. This fixture's not really come at an ideal time for Borough. The performances they've been putting in the league lately have been a little bit up or down. They took the lead against both Preston and Brentford, however ended up losing those games by 2-1. I feel like Tony Pulis, probably there was a bit of mismanagement in both those games not to kill them off. And then it was a pretty embarrassing performance against Villa to lose that one by 3-0. But Tony Pulis has had time over the international break to drill this Spurs side, and I'm sure that eventually they will get that stability back in their game. After this, they've got a game against Bristol City, although after that, they've got a pretty decent run in, I have to say. So if Middlesbrough can get 4 points from the next 2 matches, they'll be looking quite good. Although that is quite a tall order against the Norwich side, who have only lost 2 games on the road so far this season. And it would be fair to say that Norwich have come through some pretty tough games lately. You know, they went away to Rotherham, picked up all 3 points in that one, beat Hull by 3-2 at home, beat Swansea 1-0, and put 3 goals past Millwall away as well. So goals haven't really been a problem for this Norwich side. They've shown so far this season that they can win in quite a numerous amount of ways, actually. They can go and get that smash and grab victory, as well as that they can dominate a game. And of course, they've been very good at scoring late clutch goals so far this season. It wouldn't really, I don't actually think it would be the worst result in the world for both these sides to be drawing this one, but I feel like there will be a little bit more in Norwich's tank for this one. They want to wrap up the league as soon as possible, with Leeds and United both still on their tail. I don't think much will separate these two, but I'll just back Norwich for a 2-1 away victory. But guys, there you have it. There are my championship predictions for what I think is going to happen this weekend. So do you guys agree with me? Let me know your predictions in the comments down below. I'm interested to read through some of them. But apart from that, that will now wrap it up for this video. So if you did go on to enjoy, make sure you do leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. As well as that, make sure you do subscribe for some regular championship content. But apart from that, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.